Memories of her childhood begin to come to life, like when she was a young girl, Dolly and the other children would run to this bus. They would trade eggs or even chickens for candy and other items found in Green's Rolling Store.
I grew up in a Pentecostal church. My grandpa was a preacher. In fact, it's my mom's dad, and this is my mom's Bible, and it's here at the museum along with a lot of other stuff. But my grandpa was a great preacher, and he used to stand at a podium like this, and he'd tell everybody, you know, where they were going if they didn't act right. And he had a great way about him. He also was my first musical teacher because he played the piano and he wrote songs as well. And of course, I loved him very much. And my Aunt Dorothy Jo, my mother's sister, his daughter, and I wrote a song called Daddy Was an Old-Time Preacher Man, and it was like a #1 song that I did years ago with Porter Wagoner. And so this just really brings back a whole lot of memories because I learned to sing in my grandpa's church. And of course, we were just simple folks, and I remember this one particular time, there were other churches in our area, and of course, they didn't handle snakes in our church because Daddy was scared to death of snakes and he wouldn't have had nothing to do with that. But my sisters and I used to sing together. And so we decided this one particular time that we wanted to start going around to different churches to sing. So we wound up in this little country church. So we'd gone in. Daddy didn't want to go in because he didn't really like to go to church. He liked to stand outside and listen to the singing. And so we were in this church, and Daddy was outside, and we were just singing our little hearts out, and boy, all the crowd just started getting all, we thought, Betty, we are really touching these people. They're getting a blessing out of us. Well, come find out, I turned around, and I saw this man behind us. The preacher was holding a copperhead. And of course, it was like the scariest thing in the world. By the time we started to move, my daddy had seen what was going on, and he headed down the aisle, and he was saying to this preacher, "You get them bleep bleep snakes away from my bleep bleeping kids, you bleep bleeping bleastered," or something to that effect. Anyhow, so needless to say, Daddy grabbed us out of the church, threw us in the truck. We went home, and we never got to go back to that church. But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just that I'm saying my daddy did not want us there. I used to sing a lot with my sisters. In fact, a couple of my youngest sisters, Stella and Cassie, well, I used to kind of musically abuse them. I used to promise to do the dishes, do their chores forever if they'd just work with me hour after hour working up new stuff. Because I not only wrote songs, I would come up with all these hot licks on my guitar, and I'd come up with all these background parts. And one time, I got this big idea that singing in Pig Latin would be a great thing. So I had this one song, it was called She Was My Best Friend. And anyway, so the background parts would be Ishe, Oswe, Ame, Espe, and Fre, Ishe, Oswe, Ame, Espe, and Fre. Well, now that was not easy for little girls to learn. But anyhow, we did it, and of course, you know, I even actually did a few records, a few songs years later, put the background on it. Needless to say, didn't go nowhere. But it was fun trying, and they still ain't forgiven me for all the long hours and torture I put them through trying to sing Pig Latin. But I will tell you this, aye, ilwe always of lay, ooh, yay, aye, ilwe always. Well, that's a hard one. I never worked on that one before. But I was trying to say I will always love you, inye, igpe, atlay. You know, my life in the church has always been such a big part of me. It's kind of the thing that saves my mind, thinking of my family and trusting in God. And I talk to God every day. As a matter of fact, I have a little chapel built on every one of the properties that I have, whether it be in California, whether it be here, or my Tennessee mountain home. And inside of my house, I always have a little room or a little area where I can go pray. Sometimes I use it as a study. But I go work things out or just to be quiet, and it's very important to me. So I guess your childhood does stay with you, especially one like mine.
The keepsakes that are showcased in Chasing Rainbows are like windows looking into the life of Dolly Parton. A person can get lost in the thousands of personal items found in the museum. These are actual little notes that her classmates wrote and passed to her in grade school. Even some love notes from some heart-struck young boys. We can also see authentic home movies of the Parton family. There's a band uniform from her school days at Sevier County High in Sevierville, Tennessee. During her senior year, her class visited the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Other high school keepsakes include her class ring and lavalier, her diploma, high school yearbook, and photographs that she has kept for all these years. Dolly had big dreams and worked hard to get her first chance to perform. Here is an exhibit showing Dolly's start at the age of 12 on the Kaz Walker radio show on WNOX in Knoxville. Her first royalty check for $1.02. The guitar her Uncle Bill gave her. The ticket from her first airplane trip in 1965. Her first checkbook. And the first pocketbook she ever bought in a store. It was about this time on the Porter Wagner television show that Dolly Parton was becoming nationally recognized, and her unique Southern personality began to emerge. Her style, incredible voice, figure, and blonde wigs. And the beautiful costumes that attracted viewers to the syndicated show that aired in over 100 markets, gaining important exposure for the young and talented singer-songwriter.